Sona is my biggest project ever. A fantasy world of which I've spent the last 18 months working on and tens of thousands of dollars to complete. But I have a problem. I've got 9 miniatures fully made, sculpted by some of the best sculptors in the world, master printed and ready for casting. For a release in only 4 weeks. When I came up with a brilliant idea for a 10th character. The problem though, it's only 4 weeks until we release the campaign. I really want to be able to make this character and add him to that campaign. That leaves me with about 14 days to get it done, ready to send to the casters. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to scrap my entire idea. So I made a call to Bloch Sanchez from Hera Models, one of my favorite concept artists, explained to him my brilliant idea of a character named Silius. I imagine him as a mentor for one of our other characters, Signhild. He's a once legendary necromancer who's now come of a very old age, and he's residing in his throne made of one of his biggest accomplishments, the hand of the giant Bori that he once resurrected many years ago to fight by their side. And after just a few days, I got the most insane sketch I've ever seen. I can't wait to show it, so I guess we're gonna do like a grand reveal. It's not, it doesn't. Try again. Grand reveal. So let's get to the meat of this whole video idea. Because every other sculptor we worked with for this campaign is booked and have like a 6 months waiting time, which means more than 2 weeks. So I'm gonna go on Fiverr and see if we can find a good sculptor that can actually make something to the same level as all those miniatures we've already shown for this campaign. Because in my opinion, these are the best sculpted minis I've seen over the past year, probably even more. And I really don't want the level of the last miniature to drop down, especially since it's one of my favorite concepts. Okay, so I've gone on Fiverr and I've found 3 different artists that I like. So the first one I found asked for $120 and the name is Orchid32. The price is actually ridiculously low considering it's a 75mm figure. The second one is Mart Palacio. He also asked for $120. So I guess we're gonna let this guy give it a try as well. And the third one that had time was one that I'm probably the most excited about. He asked for $450, which is still about half the price or maybe even less of what the industry standard is. But considering his portfolio looked quite cool, I'm sure we can get something cool from him if it's gonna be on the world class level that the other stuff in the campaign is. I'm gonna give it a shot. Let's take it to the future and see when they've done something.
Many tic-tacs later.
It's been about 6 days since I sent out the request to all the Fiverr sculptors, and I'm so excited about this. But something happened, because I really wanted this miniature to look really good. So I asked one of Europe's best sculptors, Torbjörn Barone, to help me review these, to have his like expert opinion on the sculpt and anatomy of everything. Not only was he hyped to help me review them, but he also had a cancellation, so he has 4 days to make his own version of the sculpt, and said that he would be super hyped to do it because he loved the design. Which makes me just so freaking hyped, because we already paid and ordered the Fiverr sculpt. We will now be able to compare one of the best sculptors of the world to some of these Fiverr artists. This is actually going to be really interesting, so let's flash forward a week into the future and see what we got.
Eventually.
Welcome, Torbjörn.
Hello, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure being here.
Let's just jump into it. We have 3 different ones. The first one is $120 and the sculptor is called Orchid32. This is the figure. I'm actually kind of surprised by the quality here for $120.
Yeah, I would say it turned out really good. I really like what he did. And as I would say for $120, it would be difficult for me to do that in that time frame.
I feel like at this level, this should probably be at least 2 or 3 times more expensive for what he's done. I feel the pose is a little bit stoic. It feels like he's almost tense in the muscles instead of relaxed, leaning backward like the sketch.
I agree. So in the concept, we clearly see the guy is kind of hunched back, kind of leaning back into the throne. And I think here he's kind of using his body to wrap up to the mouse or something like that.
There's a couple of things as a painter that I look at, and I don't want to have too much textures in too many surfaces. He's kind of done it nicely here with like the skin. Maybe it would have been nice with a bit more definition in like the belly and chest area. Maybe the beard I would have reworked a little bit because it just feels like it's added on top. It doesn't feel like it's part of the sculpt. There's some ropes down here on like the right side. On the original piece, I think there's a rabbit there, but I feel like this is a good compromise for being like a budget thing. But the ropes are far too thin. They would be almost impossible to get like a good cast and then paint on that cast.
I would say for the price, I think it's really good. Let's say you have an idea, you just want a miniature, you're in a budget. I think it's a great solution.
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of price for the quality sculpt we got, what is your grade between 1 and a spadillion?
I don't know, from a 1 to 10, I would say it's probably like a 7. You get a good result for the price.
Yeah, my grade, I would definitely give the guy probably an 8 or an 8.5. But then if I would grade the sculpt separately, I would say that it's a little bit off from the reference. So the sculpt itself, I would maybe give a 6. So we have another one. This is Mart Palacio, and this guy as well charged $120, which again is a very low price for a 75mm figure. For the Kickstarter that we were working on, I'd say the average price is between $700 and like $2,000, depending on how big the figure is. Let's just open it up and see what we got. Wow, this is, I mean, there is a lot of things I want to talk about here, but yeah, it kind of looks like one of these like 90s, like cheap TV series, like animated ones. I don't know.
It's so funny because this is the same price as the previous one. And you can definitely see like a difference in skill level. This is more like a sketch of the previous one. Yeah, it does look a little like a toy in many ways. That's very simplistic geometric shapes. So usually when you start a sculpt, you'll basically just compose the different elements of simple geometric shapes. So it'll be cylinders and squares and stuff like that.
The beard is like the hair starts on the right edge instead of on his chin. It's like magic beard. It starts growing on the side here.
I guess that's the pitfall when you only charge so little. You have to finish something like this in a day or two, right?
Yeah. And to those of you who think that we are asking people to do stuff way cheaper for the video, that all of these were ordered from people who didn't know who we were. We sent them a reference and they could say whatever price they wanted. What I'm guessing here is that he's kind of at this level and he doesn't have the skill then to take it to the $400 or $500 level that the other guy probably should have been. But I do feel like the pose is nice. Like it does feel like he's leaning back. Some positives, some negatives. So price, delivery, 1 to 10.
I really don't want to be harsh. I think it's a 4, to be honest.
From like a high-end sculptor, this is probably what you would expect for that price. So if you'd say, this is my budget for a sketch, this is probably what they would deliver. So I think in terms of that, it's probably fair for what we paid. But for the sculpt itself, it doesn't feel finished. Price is still okay, I guess.
So if you wanted a house built, when you get back to the house, it's just 4 sticks, right? It's well, he should have charged more so you could get what you wanted.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So let's jump to the last one before we check out yours. But first, to fund this video, I've actually got a sponsor, which is...
You've been summoned here to answer the threat of the ugly website. Bring forth the website. This website needs to be fixed.
One does not simply fix an ugly website. Not with 10,000 web designers does one do that. This is folly. Have you not heard what he said? The website needs to be fixed.
I suppose you think you're the one to do it. Nobody trusts a JavaScripter.
What if we fail?
I'll be dead if I see the ugly website in the hands of an HTML coder. I will do it. I will fix the ugly website. Although I will just use Squarespace.
I will help you bear this burden, as long as it is yours to bear.
No, I'm gonna use Squarespace, and with Squarespace, it's gonna be super easy with all the award-winning templates. Anyone can make a website.
If by my life or death, I will take you to squarespace.com/Squidmar.
And my 14 days free trial!
You carry the fate of all of us. If you use the code Squidmar, you will save 10% off your entire purchase of a website or a domain.
So it is decided. You shall be the Fellowship of Squarespace.
This one was far more expensive. This guy asked for $450. This is Musa Ishak. He sent us this file. Yeah, this is honestly a lot better, I would say.
Yeah, I would say this is quite true to the concept. The composition is quite close and the elements are placed somewhat similarly to the concept line. You can definitely see this guy has invested more time than he did.
Definitely. For $450, this is a good price. For sure. I really like the beard. This has like the perfect amount of texture for painting. So it's got a little bit of volume. Yeah. The mustache looks fantastic. The face does have a little bit of detail and a little bit of personality, which I like. Kind of looks like Sauron.
He got a really kind of nice face on him, actually.
The legs, I think, looks really fancy. The only kind of like body part that I feel like I would have asked for a little bit of a change is the belly and chest area. I feel like having a little bit more definition there, so it's easier to paint out like sharper edges and making him look a little bit more like a dehydrated old muscular man. Because right now he feels like I don't know, 12% body fat.
Yeah. So as a sculptor, what I see here is like when you're sculpting something traditionally, you have to do everything from scratch. And usually what happens in 3D, the approach to sculpting is usually you sculpt something in T-pose or like Y-pose, just a flat. And then afterwards you kind of try and put the guy in the place. You take his arm and you just try and bend it upward. But the thing is, an arm just doesn't go straight to the side. It also kind of rises the shoulder, right? Those are things that I notice here that are kind of missing. It's more complicated than just kind of bending limbs.
In terms of textures, this one so far is definitely the best one. I do think he's just copied the bunnies and mirrored them. But in terms of price and sculpting, for me this is a 9. So for $450, I think he over-delivered. I do really love the base as well. That one I think he nailed.
Oh yeah, the base, I actually didn't even think about it, but the base actually does look very nice. I kind of like it even more than mine in some ways. It's really nice. Yeah, I would give it like a 8.5, 9 as well. It's limited how much better you could do it given what he's paid for it.
I do agree with that. Let's jump into the last one, which is yours. And how much would you charge for this?
I spent 4 days on this for like a rushed piece like this, maybe like €1,000, I would say.
10 times the cheaper ones. Anyway, I'm super excited to get into this. My God, yeah, wow. This has just wow. I don't even know where to start on this. The first thing that my mind goes to again is like the chest area. Where I'm gonna spend the most time painting is like this area, the torso and the face, because that's where I want people to look. And with this one, it really does look like an old man who like works out, but the older you get, the more stuff is gonna move down and hang, especially the pectoral muscles and like the abs.
Yeah. Usually when someone comes with a concept to me, I'm gonna put my own spin on it a little bit. So I probably defined his muscles a bit more. I chose to remove a couple of things because I think it looked a little clouded. Now, we didn't really have a lot of dialogue due to the nature of this video, right? But usually I would consult with my client. I think the guy had a bird in his belt or something like that, and I thought it was a little crowded, so I would of course have asked you, oh, what do you think about this bird? I think it's a little much or whatever, right?
I personally prefer it cleaner. I do love the foot here though. That one's looking really nice with like the veins going down here.
Also the face, I think I made him look a little bit more evil, but also it's just that my style is a little different, right? I don't really do more cartoony stuff, right? And the face was just a bit less realistic than some of the other elements.
If we would do like a feedback round before like sending it to casting, because obviously you want to have this one in the Kickstarter.
This sculpt is not ready for casting, right? So we look at the chains, there's a little bit of room in between them, and that's like the next process. That would be to kind of cut the model into pieces, make sure that everything is sealed. Watertight is basically the term we use for it, and so it's nice and easy to assemble and cast.
And then we have like a few things, like maybe the feet of the rat and the hand of the rat. Maybe you would have to make them a little bit thicker so that when you cast them, they don't break in the casting process. The base on the previous one, I kind of really like that idea, so maybe we should steal that for the, for the finish.
He looks a little bit more dominant when he's like up there, right, on the cliff and all.
The texture is just amazing. The muscles, this area, as I said, I just love this part. I'm gonna paint this so much.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, it's very nice to hear your feedback.
Anyway, I just think it's amazing. For me, it's a 10, and I know that it's gonna go even more into a 10 when it's finished. Do you want to plug something?
Well, you can find me on Instagram on Baron Artwork, and that's mostly where I post my stuff. And if you're interested, you can see what I make there.
So everyone go down to the links. I'm gonna put it in the video description. Give some love to Torbjörn. I'm so freaking hyped for Torbjörn's final version. He just sent it to me, had a few more hours to work on it, and to be honest, it's one of my favorites for the Kickstarter. It's so freaking good. The best thing is Matteo from Mindwork Games that makes the cast also started painting on his version for the box art, and so freaking beautiful. I'm in love. So guys, if you want to be part of this whole thing, you know that we're gonna put the links to where you can sign up to be notified when the Kickstarter goes live in the video description. We also have the sponsor link down there, and I put the link to the guys in Fiverr who had their service in this video. All of them delivered something that I think they can be proud of considering what they paid. So give them some love if you need some sculpting done. And with that, thanks to all the patrons. Have a good day. Bye bye.